Hey you guys, how are you? Guess what? I've gotten these in-ear, I think they're called gaming buds, whatever, from SteelSeries. So now when I do recordings with Borag and Andy, I'm not looking like an idiot having these big ear muffs on. So that is really good, and they're actually quite good to be honest. They play some really good music, and yeah, I got them cheap on a good discount. I love that. So this video, this video here. The sound is on, everything is on, we're good to go. We have sub chart request, and yes, someone noted that we didn't do the last one. That's all on me. I have no excuse, basically. I have no excuse. So now we're going to do it again here. We have roughly 25. I'm taking the first 25 stocks. We look at them and we basically see what is up, right? What could be done on those ones. So yeah, basically we're gonna go through all of these stocks and see what we can find. Before we do, check out this post here from like basically this morning. A potential big signal coming up for ENCC. This is oil and gas, 14% dividend, long-term entry. Some really good stuff happening there, and also the short-term silver and gold update, where we got a very neat little hammer candle on the daily on silver. That's quite cool. Check that one out. Let's dive in here. Remember, 25 stocks meaning 25 minutes of video. So you can break it up into two if you want to get some coffee or whatever. Good. This one here is a tiny guy. Again, not a tiny guy, but the stock that I found here is very messy. Maybe I just want to pause and find the correct ticker. I think I found a better one. At least it has more data. Again, if this is not the correct stock, that's all on me, basically. So what happened here is actually quite neat. Again, would I buy it here this late into the move? No. But I would want to wait for any bullish signal. And why is that? Because we had our fan favorite, basically. The fan favorite wedge. I wish I were a part of this before the breakout. It's quite cool, to be honest. You can see here targets from this whole pattern alone points to potentially almost 500 to maybe 700, and we could overperform up to the golden here. You can see the large uptrend that we have, basically 25 years, so a quarter of a decade, century, my bad, of uptrend here, and we have had a beautiful wedge breakout. Short term, do we have anything going in favor here? Bit of a messy sideways consolidation here. Again, if we get a back test, that would be a dream, to be honest. If we get down to like 155 or so, I would be very interested in the stock here. Other than that, you just wait for bull flags. You wait for any reason, contraction in volatility. And one good way to do that is actually a Bollinger Band. I love the Bollinger Band. I don't use it in the videos often, but off screen or offline I use it a lot because it just gives me extra bias or extra confirmation into this whole thing here. So you can see here we have tight Bollinger Bands, so you can see the range or the flag is very capped. So Bollinger Bands is extremely nice. So I'm really bullish here. KGH, would I buy here? No, but it is definitely in a bullish uptrend. Don't get me wrong there. It's really nice. SID, the good stock we've been buying lately here, we bought it. Again, go and check the video where I did the one video or stock video on this one here. This was a breakout that I took personally for the long-term dividend portfolio. I have my stop below like 120, and the idea is basically to play this stuff here. Right. People have been saying, should I buy here now? I would actually say no. I would wait for a better, like, I wouldn't say better entry, but now that we have been breaking out and we have seen that breakout high right here at roughly 175 or so, I would say that is a better level to get in, right? Then you could wait for like a triple breakout. So once we start to trade close to basically 190 to $2, that is where I could actually also buy more if I have, you know, the correct allocation at that point in time. But I'm still long this one here, and that won't change until I'm basically below. Should we lower it? I'm just want to check here. 117. 117 seems to be the good level for to get out, basically, and just be on the sidelines, because I think it's just a timing issue. If we are wrong there, I think it is going to break higher. But sometimes you get the timing, the thesis right, but the timing incorrect. Rig here, I actually fancy quite a lot. Remember, we're still in a very long downtrend, so long term, still in a downtrend. No one can deny that, basically. Internally here, you can also see, you know, back in January 2023, we broke out from this internal. We rallied to the upper end, and then we actually did a very nasty back test, right? Very late into the breakout. This stuff hurts, and there, you know, every bull here, they are wiped out. There are no one left, basically. So what happened since then is we said, hey, anything north, I gotta get the goddamn cable out. Anything north of this line here at 3.4, you break a head and shoulder. A little flag at the end there, textbook, we love that. And yes, bullish for sure. Could you still be bullish here or buy here? Yes, I still think it's fine. Can you get it down to 3.4? Even better. And again, I would say once we start to trade a little bit below $3, you should probably, again, that is where your stop loss is. You're losing the short-term uptrend. You're losing the lowest point of your you know, your structure just before breaking out. So as long as we're basically above 2.95 and change, you know, thereabout, it's all fine. Of course, when and if we break the bigger one here, that's a whole new deal. That's when you turn long term, you know, you get more momentum and you're getting more bullish. Cool. SVM here. Ooh, I love SVM. It's still such a good chart, and I want to buy more. I really do. SVM is a monster of a setup. Remember, we've bought it here at roughly 5.4-ish. That little. Again, the overall frame for this one is that wedge. We love that. You know the deal. We're not going to talk about that because this is quite good. Not grade A, because I still think the lower boundary is a bit too steep for my take. I mean, for like a grade A setup, but it's still really good. And what is happening now, you can see here zooming in, we took this kind of breakout here where we had a funky cup and handle at roughly 5.4. Also, we got above the splitter, which was 5. So we definitely turned bullish, even more bullish there. And if we get some sort of flag here or some sort of sideways triangle, load up the boat on SVM. I love this setup here. I still do. It's very bullish. It has actually held up quite nicely in this whole, you know, Q4 shenanigans, you know, or not shenanigans, but, you know, the boring phase, the kick in the face. It's only down 20%. Only. In silver and gold, uranium, that's peanuts. That's basically day-to-day business almost. It feels like. So I like SVM here. I have it on my radar. I want to buy more if we get the right conditions, because it seems like we can get a really good tight risk reward entry on that one there. So what happened here on Vizsla? Vizsla was one of those slowly under the radar. We didn't do a whole lot of buy setups. I've had it way back, so I've been in this, you know, for a very long time, and it didn't produce, you know, big setups, at least when we did the substack here. So we haven't really been able to get in, because first of all, there were better setups, you know, SUP and these guys. But look at it here; it's still performing. It's only down 20%. That was difficult. So that is quite neat, to be honest. And what we're seeing here, the weekly, is that we're actually hugging the upper end of the uptrend here, right? So if you want to play the short-term game, not short game, if we start to basically dribble too much below like 3 point, it's a bit tricky because it could also be like a flag here, but Ideally, we hold 3.66. Ideally. Right, I think we're going to correct here. So it still looks good. I'm just thinking if you, again, profit, could you, a bit torn actually. Again, don't sell. As you can see here, we're still in a stage 2 lovely uptrend. So again, I'm just wondering if, again, taking profit here makes sense. Again, it could. It's difficult. Again, sometimes it's not as easy. Well, trading is never easy, by the way. It's always so many possibilities, and yeah, and it can be very stressful to keep all those options. It's like a chessboard, right? All those opportunities in your head, basically. Here we have FRU, not, and this is. It looks a lot like the ENCC. What's the name of it? The stock here, you know, the ENCC. Very similar setup. So I assume they do oil. They have to. Yeah, oil and gas. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I will say this looks extremely good. It has already been breaking out. Would I buy it here this late into the move? It probably doesn't matter. Again, could we pull back a little bit? Yeah, it could be. But the overall thing is we have been breaking out from this inverted head and shoulder, which is actually almost the exact same as the ENCC. So we're going to go now to the neckline at roughly 17. That is where we pause, and that is where we will probably get a new entry. That is why it's probably better just to wait a little bit. Again, it eats to its own. Buying here is no mistake. Yeah, buying is no mistake, but again, you could also wait for a potential better risk reward. But the long-term views to me looks really, really strong. Once we break like 17, 18 here, we could actually go to 40. And the dividend here is quite interesting because you're getting paid, I thought it was more, but anyway, you're getting 7%. That is quite neat, isn't it? 7%. You know, 10-year head and shoulder. You will probably get a little flag here, and then we're going to grind it higher. It looks very good, to be honest. Really, really good. If you're long on this one here, I wouldn't change anything. APAAF. It went from the breakout point down here at roughly 0.088. It went to basically, it did 500%, pulling back into a very niche little level here. Should I make is the blue difficult to see? Let me know. The red is also extremely bad choice. Again, green, I don't know. We do blue, whatever. And the reason is, you can see here, we do have some sort of head and shoulder as well. We're now back testing it. And that's the important thing. It still looks really good overall, right? We're still above the 30-weekly moving average. Right, nothing has really changed. Again, we broke out, we're coming down to visit the price structure. Who cares? Again, it sucks, of course, to be, you know, from 50 down to basically 15 cents. That sucks every day of the week, but you're also into a very, very small stock. So that is daily operation. Right. So what I would do here in APAAF, you can see we're having a very tight range for the past, basically since November. We have a very tight range. If we can start to trade north of this high here at roughly 18, 19 cents, the whole backtest process could actually be over. So you buy that breakout, right? And you have a stop below basically 14 here, because then you want to be out for sure. You want to move, because you could actually drop down heavily. So you can go long here at 18 cents roughly, and you can have a stop at just below 15 cents, and then you're in for it again, right? We could see a cup and handle. We could see like a wedge going on here. A lot of good things can happen, and your risk is extremely capped at like 20% or so, but you're getting a lot of upside in this small stock here, to be honest. So yeah, that is quite interesting here. A bit more of a, I wouldn't say riskier entry, but you are buying into to high volatility, which reduces your success rate, basically. Elevate here, and one that I said here, anything north of 36 cents looks really good. Right, and we had a big move into the upper rail because we have the lower, and then we have the upper, and then together with, again, uranium has been crippled big word, but again, short term it has been hit quite hard, which we expected. But Elevate here seems to be overperforming heavily to the downside, 50%. And you know, the 10% stop loss has been hit, and also just before the breakout we had that 28. So again, this one is probably I wouldn't say on my bad, but again, we should have had an update before we on the miners before we actually went into that whole kind of correction which we kind of knew was coming. But again, Elevate got hit very hard compared to other stuff. I have to pause 1 second. So definitely that is, we kind of knew that whole, you know, gold to the ratio coming down to that level, and the URA divided by U.UN came into that coil which we talked about. So we should have done a video leading up to that talking about stuff. That is one thing we've learned here. So BNL, Blue Star Helium, tiny stock. You know the game. I'm trying to give a place where if I were to sprinkle a little bit in, it will probably be. That's difficult sometimes to speak as a Dane. We are having the Danish language is very mumbly, so sometimes you can't really get the correct words, because it is just a bit strange sometimes. Anywho, so the downtrend is here. That is how I would frame it. We have some highs here, so when those two are broken, that is probably when you can sprinkle. Remember, tiny company, don't bet the farm, as Burak would say. Don't spend it all. But once we start to get into the 1 cent, the 1.2 cent-ish, thereabout, sure, by all means, go ahead. When would I take some profit? Again, these stocks can be tricky and difficult. I will say 2.7 cents is probably a good reason to take half off at least, because that's like a legacy neckline of that head and shoulder. Typically that is resistance, so that is where you should probably take some profit off the table there in this stock and just become risk free at least, right? Momentum wise, you can also see here we just have a range there. So once it breaks to the upside together with this stuff here, god damn it, then I'm sorry, then definitely go ahead. Sell here, it was one of those that I really wanted to get into, but I couldn't buy because it was on the Australian, and I couldn't buy it for some reason. And the entry level we talked about was this neckline here, very crisp, very precise, anything north of like 10 cents, right? Then we trigger a move all the way up to here, and we haven't been hitting that yet. What has happened is we had a big rally from 10 cents to the highs up here, right, at roughly 18 cents, and now we're coming back for a back test. And what is our view on that then? Clearly we want to see this back test here, which is, it could already has happened, to be honest, but again, we are definitely down in that region, roughly 10-11 cents. That is where you want to add. Anything below 10 cents, like 9 cents, it starts to get iffy because you're getting back below the neckline. But from the textbook point of view, as long as you hold the right shoulder lows, you are actually clear, and the target remains until that is the case. So again, it depends on how risk willing you are, basically. So so it still looks really good, and hopefully, again, we can get some sort of thing here to take us in, right? We don't have the structure right now, and we're still in a move down here, and then we have a bit of expanding volatility, which can be difficult, but we want to see here roughly 10 cents what happens, and then some very good risk rewards can be done. And even though we rallied 100% initially, we're actually quite pleased still with the stock, right? We're still holding the 30-week moving average, making higher highs and higher lows, yada yada. I'm still very pleased with the stock, even though we're down 50% almost. Ouch. It is what it is. That's commodities. BMNR, this is Bitcoin Immersion Technologies. from my understandings, it is more Ethereum related. I could be wrong. Please correct me if that's the case. So what we have here is, again, very volatile, given it's actually 10 billion market cap, quite big. We had a funky breakout here where we gapped up, and then we just, I think we did take out a lot of stop losses there, to be honest. Massive surge. That was over that weekend where I think Ethereum did 25% over that weekend, you know, and then boom, we just, you know, went up like, holy bananas. That is, I don't know, many multiples. What is happening now? This is not good. There were some small bull flags along the way, but right now I would definitely frame it like this until further notice. And then that's actually all we can do, because I don't know the low point here. And yeah, very volatile. What's the daily look like? I would think we're gonna get a bounce here to the upside, but still not interested. We did have a, that's a nasty breakdown, right? That's a nasty one. Once we started to trade below that 50, we've basically been cut in half. So let's try just quickly here to see if the Fibonacci tool, yeah, we're hitting the 0.618. I think there's more to come to the downside. And there might be something going on in the future, but difficult. Again, sometimes, you know, I can't really frame it any way that I think makes sense sometimes, and then I will not speak, basically. I will not speak. Again, here SMR is also again in that boat with Elevate, where we should have had a video when that, you know, high in the URA divided by the U.UN hit. Again, lesson learned. Lesson learned. Again, we can't always be perfect, but that said, we did break here the uptrend of SMR. Not ideal by any means. We actually cut straight through. Well, not straight, but it went rather quick. And what is happening now? We're down. We're also down quite a lot from the highs. Woo, 60%. Have we seen that before? We have. 65%. We've seen it before. 65%. 60%. 66%. So this kind of pullback here is not out of the ordinary, even though it's breaking some longer term stuff here. But I want to see a hold here, basically where we held yesterday. Multiple reasons are supply and demand zone going way back, meaning buyers should be there. And also here we are testing this legacy breakout point where we called, hey, that is a long call. And also here momentum on the 200 weekly, we're resetting, boom. The daily candle is a nice little hammer, right? Nice little hammer. So I think we're gonna see a counter trend rally. What does this mean? We don't know exactly yet. Of course, if we get this, we don't like it very much. And but again, if we get some sort of V shape and come back, then we're a lot more intrigued. So the aggressive guy can definitely buy here, roughly 18 where we are today, and have a stop below that blue zone at roughly, you know, 15 or so. But that's aggressive. But let's see what's getting formed here. I would love to have this as a left shoulder, short term. We will get a V-shaped head, and then boom, up here, and then we can actually go to target, do the back test at roughly 30. I wouldn't be surprised if that is what we see here. So the aggressive guy can buy here a little bit, don't go too insane, or we wait here for something longer term breakout. But we need to hold here, make no mistake, we need to hold here, otherwise we open up for $10, $10 basically. We need to hold, very important. SLVP, basically this is the SIL, roughly. So are we very pleased with a decade-long breakout to the upside? Yes. And we're now coming in here with this bull flag here. So we did print an all-time high in this ticker, which is nice. We like that. And now we're coming down. I'm going to go to the daily just briefly. We're going to come down. We're coming down here now. So we are definitely in some sort of bull flag here, even though it is immature. How is it immature? Well, basically we have only 4, so we don't exactly know the. Again, if we come down here and rally, then yes, confirmation. Or if we tag again here and come down, then you have confirmation. So you kind of need 5 points typically before you get confirmation. But when you have 4, you can actually often visualize that this is a bull flag in the making, right? So this is what we're waiting for on the miners. Could we get a full back test? Yes. And should you buy a lot if that happens at roughly 22? Yes, you should. That is the back test from the 10-year range, 10 years. So, or wedge, excuse me. So again here, long term, incredibly bullish until this weekly setup here fails one way or the other. Short term, bearish, neutral, more so bearish, but you get the idea. Which again, we kind of expected it to some degree. But remember, we're waiting, at least personally, I'm waiting for the break of the famous 78 roughly on the gold to silver ratio, because that is when the fortune is made. That is my theory, and that will remain the case until disproven. So E, this is financial and smaller company. So bit of a funky one here. Are we in an uptrend? Yes, but you can also see here we've made some new lower lows. I wouldn't, again, if you're not in, I wouldn't do anything until we basically clear this line here. We could backtest and then rally. Cool, you're long and you have a stop below quite easily. But a bit funky here. And I even had this on for some reason. I've been looking at it from time to time, apparently. It could have been on this Substack kind of, theme here. So what we do not want to see is actually start to break below that. Let's call it $1. If that happens, it's game over. And there's nothing for you in there, because you break the neckline of the topping pattern, but also you're breaking down from the uptrend. So anything below like $1, it is actually at 1.09, but again, maybe 1. Yeah, I think $1 and below, game over for E here. There's nothing for you. Again, important note, when I say game over, if you start to come down here, you have to be bearish. Bearish. We could come up for a backtest and roll over, which is most likely. The only way to flip that script and become bullish again if we break down and we get back in above the blue. False breakdown from 2 major lines. That is extremely bullish, because people has gone short here and they are now smoked. So again, getting below, okay, we're bearish. And if we get back above, we're very bullish, and that is a buy signal. So it's very binary, and you have to be able to switch somewhat quickly. CTMCF is a small stock, I assume 50 million. It looks really good. Again, here you can see this 15-year downtrend breakage. We took the 2 prior highs here, which has been like a legacy highs for the past 3 years. Look at this here, you can just see the level, which was roughly 10 cents, 11. A little bull flag here, rally. Buy any bull flags. Buy any bull flags should be the play now. Any bullish consolidation should be the play. We're in a massive uptrend, and the only reason for now, until we see like a trend line form or anything, is as long as we're making higher highs and higher lows above the 30 weekly, happy days. Really happy days, to be honest. One thing I just noted is actually this level here. You can see the legacy level here where we broke down and started to throw up big time, basically losing 80%. We hit it here, right? So that's the level to get above in order to resume the bullishness. It needs to break that level, and if it can do that, it can easily go to 40, easily. So it looks really good. MicroStrategy, the good old Michael Saylor. I have been flaming him a little bit. The reason is not, again, I have nothing against Bitcoin or crypto, but that man, the way he speaks, I'm very it takes a lot for me to get some sort of like offended or irritated, But that dude again, what if people are listening to him on what he's saying, it shouldn't be a guy you listen to, right or wrong. Again, he's just he seems very insincere to me. That's just me. Anyway, let's look at the chart. That's why we're here. So MicroStrategy, and actually we said here at roughly, when was it? You can see the breakdown here below the 30 weekly and the breakdown from the yellow uptrend, 360. Yeah, 360. And that is when we said you got to be very careful. And now we are at 170. Do I believe we could get a bounce here? Yes. We had a high volume during the week. Seems like end of trend. We have come down a lot actually also. I wouldn't be surprised to see a counter trend here. But overall, major higher, lower lows and lower highs. That is not a good thing. Unless, at some point in time, potentially this bull flag here, let's say, cool, then we're bullish again. But right now, long-term bearish. Short-term, I wouldn't be surprised with a bounce from this level here. But it needs to do that. And that's very important. But I am, again, on Bitcoin, I think, again, we've come way too far to the downside. And we're going to see a counter trend rally. Because people, once they start to see these big drops, they are shorting, but they're shorting way too late into the move. The same thing goes to the upside, after the breakout and you start to run and really start to get a lot of attention in silver and gold. People pile in with leverage and then, game over. So Sask here is a uranium company, if I'm not mistaken. Still technically, we are in the head and shoulder target, and that target is basically all-time highs at 1.6. One thing that is not good, and this is the ideal stuff. Ideally, when you break the neckline, which is right here, you can see that. Right, it's right there. Ideally, when you break it, you never go below it again. Ideally, but again, the pattern is not. What's it called? It's still in play as long as we hold the right shoulder low, which is roughly just below 50 cents. So we're actually still okay. But again, ideally we didn't break below here, right? And for sure not that one as well. So bit of a funky one here. What I think could happen, and if it happens, it's actually quite a good one. If we start to hold and start to coil here, that to me would be an immensely great long signal in this stock here. Again, you have the head, the head and shoulders, and then if you can get a coil here, even though we dropped that far, which sucks, right? But if we get that, then that's really good. But technically everything is fine, but we have seen a ton of damage to the chart, losing a lot of momentum. So it is what it is. OKE. This is oil and gas, right? Yeah, oil and gas. I'm getting more and more excited about this oil and gas stuff, to be honest. Even though oil is not reflecting it. And again, one thing could be made that we should wait for oil, but when we get these longer term breakouts in the oil stocks, I mean, yeah, why not? Good. OKE here, dividends 6%, really cool. Uptrend there, you can see from the lows of 2020, quite neat. We're getting close, right? So again, it could be that we're going to come down to roughly 64 thereabout. But the main thing now is actually this breakout line here. You can see we finally broke out here, and what happened? A very, very delayed backtest way out there in the horizon. It sucks, but again, this gives opportunities because you can see here the flag here, right? Into the backtest here. Internally, we're actually peaking a little bit above here. Very interesting. Is this a buy signal? Let's have a look. No. Almost. Holy, that's really close. But you can see here, we make these lines and we basically want to hit the high notes as well. You can see the lows here. You can just see resistance, 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 resistance. But look at this. So it is breaking out here from the internal downtrend. That's good. But what is that extra little, yes, I want to buy this stock here is left shoulder, right shoulder, excuse me, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, on the way of a breakout. Very, very clean bottom structure here. And this one triggers at, let's call it 71.5. We're taking it a little bit higher than the exact level, but 71.5 triggers a 1 to 2 month old head and shoulder, and you're breaking like a yearly long internal. So you can actually scoop a really good entry there. Again, 71.5 is your entry, like a daily close above ideally. And you just have a stop right down here, like 63 or so. And the play is that we're going to break out here and we're going to slowly chuck along for the next few years, and we're going to hit, 100 plus on this one here. Good risk reward there. Big back test, beautiful bull flag, internal breakage, short-term time frame, bottoming structure at the back test. A lot of good check marks to do, really. So OKE here, 71.5, maybe 72. Looks amazing, to be honest, in my view. Again, stop loss wise, just have it below the golden here, which is basically now 60. But when and if we get there, it might be 62 or something like that. Again, we're not always correct, so we need to know when to get out. But the risk to reward, we could do that. We should do that. Yes, we should. We should do that. These are very quick numbers. Yeah. Let's take it to the triangle high. 5 to 1. Bring it. You can take half off there, and then you can ride the rest to the potential side up here. Boom. I love that. Really good. Rio Tinto. Long term, I looked at it again. It has vibes, even though it's very chunky, right? It's not textbook by any means, but you do have some sort of cup and handle vibe, just like we saw on gold, that 10-year kind of thing. So, what is extremely bullish in my view, and now we're going to go to momentum. Yes, I love it when you have a clear momentum chart. I love that. Look at it here. We are not that far away from breaking away from the long-term weekly momentum. That's really good. Therefore, look at the range here. This is what, 4 or 5 years? It hasn't done a goddamn thing in 4 or 5 years. And that's opportunity. 5% dividend. You can see here the internal flag breakout. If you took that, cool. Stay long. Checkbook, that's really good. Stop loss, I would say, is like below 110. If you're not long here, I would just wait for this range to break, which is 137. It looks really good, also given the fact that we are coiling up there. So initially you take the height of that whole bad boy there. Boom. Boom. So the height initially, this one takes us to 211. Right, before any major kind of levels are made, but when that happens, you're also breaking like a 20-year or 15-year momentum breakout. It should go way higher, but that is your first target, just north of 200 on Rio Tinto. I really like it here. GRR. When I first saw this, I'm like, this is a weird child, but actually it's not that weird, because you have 4 here, so you haven't confirmed the wedge, but it looks very well defined, so you start to get the idea that yes, it is actually quite good. And you can see here that was like a stage 2 breakout after a very long downtrend. Yeah, and what is happening here is kind of like the same, where we have made a wedge breakout. Right, we've made the highs here, and now we're coming back down. So you can see here we are trying to print higher highs and higher lows. So if we get a breakage of that one there, then you've been breaking that higher high. So that is really good. Stage 2 uptrend, and you have been breaking the downtrend and all that. So, and then you just have a stop below the prior low, really. So right now, yes, stage 2 uptrend, but it's very early, so you don't really have all that, you do have momentum, but not, massively momentum. There is still the danger, of course, that we do a little bit of a rally here, and then we're going to come down to here. and then we buy. That's where you can buy heavily, right? And then we potentially, right? So that is really good. So we are bullish short term here, but it's a bit of a, you have to watch it every day basically. Every day you have to watch this one here on the daily closes. So that is all, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, comments and all that below. And these stocks here I just briefly look at, and I give the overall picture. And sometimes we dive into detail when we see something that we really like. For instance, Rio Tinto. I really like that one. And there were a few others as well that was really good. So thank you, everyone. I will upload this video here. Then I will listen to some music in my headset, which is gone. Here it is. And just do some stuff on the Substack, replying to you guys. So have an amazing day, guys. It's a pleasure as always. Cheers, guys. Bye.